Busted.
Busted. Ouch.
You got a piece of paper?
We figured you needed space. Well, actually, Sharon didn't want to sit on this side of you.
Here, I got.
Oh, there you go.
Make it.
I got some paper. I've got paper. I've got paper.
That's
Let's get that out of here.
Yeah, holiday,
Well,
we're gonna,
there's
we're gonna
nothing
be
ever
quick.
wrong with starting on time.
Okay.
We're already late.
So let's just.
No, my watch.
Hold
No,
on.
we're 30 seconds early.
You're
We'll
behind
call
the
it.
times.
We'll call it the order. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
We have one caveat for the agenda. The Apple River was erroneously placed in the public hearing section. So that is a discussion that we'll have before that. And if the discussion is ongoing, we can take it after. We just should start the public hearing right at 9:30.
Okay.
So we probably move 7B up before the public hearing.
Yes,
We have room.
correct. As long as the time works out.
All right. Everybody all right with that?
Yes.
Hearing that, then all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes.
Make a motion.
second it.
Any changes anybody see or anything? So if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Look at that. It's a holiday weekend. We get nobody.
Oh,
We don't have any other supervisors. So 3 and 5, 4 and 5 are gone. Let's do number 6. Shouldn't take very long either, should it? Your discussion on that?
Would you be able to put the map up there? If not, it's not a big deal. It's in the packet too, but the resolution's in the front, before, and there is a map associated just to kind of re-explain the property itself. I know we have some new members here. I'm Francisco. I'm the county forest administrator. You and Sharon was here when I first started, so welcome back. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of step back a little bit to explain what all happened with this property. So last year, April, Ice Age Trail brought up that we purchased this property from a private citizen. The 40 acres created a landlocked parcel when they bought it. So they reached out saying, we really don't want to manage this property since it's landlocked between county and state land. And they didn't get an easement from the private citizen that they bought it from. So they reached out to see if we would be interested in, which I brought it to committee to see to further pursue it. So it's 40 acres in total, 38 acres of upland, 2 acres of wetland. There's approximately 32 acres of aspen and 6 acres of trail in that block. This acquisition would block up the McKenzie Creek State Wildlife Area and Polk County lands. And it would be roughly over 7,100 acres of contiguous public land that this 140 would combine. So the connectivity would create 15 miles, just over 15 miles of Ice Age Trail line, Ice Age Trail, contiguous trail through public lands. And then it also would block up 7.6 miles of funded snowmobile trail connection by acquiring this 40. So that private is what was in between the two agencies managing those lands.
and the ones that are the diagonal green lines?
That's Polk County lands.
That's Polk
Yep.
County. Okay.
Yep. So we have Ice Age, there's a parking lot right here, Ice Age Trail Park. Ice Age Trails, the green.
Okay.
Which, that connectivity with lock in. So that's the big reason why the Ice Age Trail originally purchased it, was to not lose connectivity by private hands, and that they could say you're done with easements. That could happen with snowmobile too. So this in terms of recreation property, it was pretty unique to be able to acquire something like that in the county side to retain the snowmobile trail and Ice Age Trail segment too. And on top of it, we'd also increase our management for timber. So that's kind of the background of it. So there's a little bit more to it. So the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant, I did get a resolution to apply for that. That the Joint Finance Committee to approve that grant requires town support anything north of 64 for land acquisition. So I did get Town of Lorraine support, a resolution signed that they were supporting this acquisition. This property will be was going to be pulled off the tax roll because Ice Age Trail is a nonprofit. So there was no tax roll implications there. If anything, the town of Lorraine would see an uptick in town severance share based on our timber sale harvest. And amount of acres they would have in that town. See. But yeah, I got the town resolution, got the resolution to apply for the grant, and then I received the grant June 17th, which is outlined in the resolution to up to $37,900. So that's 50% of the market appraisal price plus 50% of closing costs, title insurance, etc. I did have to do title insurance, so I already did that to get a clean title for the grant application to be able to for the state to say it is clean and we will give this grant funding to you. So, and then also the project loan, it's a 0% interest loan that the state gives to the county forest systems to purchase land, do forestry practices, anything that we really want. And it's a 0% interest loan paid back by timber sale stumpage. And that's 20% of my timber sale stumpage when a timber sale closes. So say a timber sale closes for $100,000 on my books to the state, they would send an invoice for 20% of that until that balance is paid. So essentially the purchase price that we agreed upon with the Ice Age Trail was $55,000. The loan would kick in just over half of that, or well over half of that because of the market value appraisal. And then we'd be subject to the remaining balance. So around 19,000 is what the county would be paying with the project loan. So, and I did do a resolution to get the project loan, I think it was 1624, to be able to purchase that property outright and then apply for reimbursement through the grant that's approved. That was kind of the whole process. There's probably some stuff I'm missing. But we're kind of here today with a signed offer to purchase. We're the last contingency of the offer to purchase with the county having full approval. So Ice Age Trail board approved. The purchase price was approved. So there's some language that the Ice Age Trail wanted to retain that would at least allow a footpath on the property. So that was approved by the county and also the state. I had the state legal look at it to make sure it didn't conflict with county forest law, and they said it did not. So they were okay with that language. So not sure if I have here some of the other contingencies, but yeah, the contingencies were Knowles Nelson stewardship funding, which we got the county forest project loan, which we were approved for, Lions board approval, clear and free title, and then the deed restrictions being approved by both parties. So kind of here today with all the final steps. This resolution would be, if it was supported here, push to the county board for full approval for me to be able to finalize the acquisition.
Finalize. And the other one that we did earlier went through finance.
What's that?
This,
Project loan, yeah, that went through you and it went through finance.
so
And it
we
was,
put it in.
and it was approved by full board.
Yep, so are we gonna put it in the county forest or hold
It
out?
has to be,
It has to be put in, the
Yep.
whole thing, okay. That was the
as a
question,
requirement of the grant application or that grant program
and it all went in, okay,
within a year of the acquisition.
all right.
Yep.
Any questions?
I just have one question. Not even sure you can answer it, though.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as far as the Ice Age Trail Association, whatever their better name is, bought that because they wanted the Ice Age Trail through it.
Yep.
Now they want to sell it, but they want us to keep the Ice Age Trail. So I'm curious as far as why do they want to sell it if they were so they really wanted to have this Ice Age trail. So I'm just curious as far as why all of a sudden do we get to sell it off to the county and have the county pick up the tab? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
If they thought it was so valuable, because there are private landowners on either side of it as well. If they thought it's so valuable, why all of a sudden is it, do they want to just dole it off to the county?
When they purchased it, they created it, it became landlocked. So they bought so Leo Themes, I believe, owned the 40 to the south. So he bought that they bought that north 40, created it landlocked. They wanted to be able to keep it in public hands. They also took a pretty big hit. They bought the property for $100,000 outright. And when we reappraised it, so their appraisal was a hypothetical that they had access. Our appraisal is that they're landlocked. And then also we had our approved bottom or dollar amount that the county was willing to pay. So they lost over half of the purchase price that they originally bought it for. So
They're nonprofit, so shouldn't be in it for making money.
and they're not.
I mean, but
Yeah.
you just said that they've just, and I'm not trying to argue, I'm just trying to understand like
Their
what is-
their
what
biggest
is-
goal was the trail.
their big goal is the trail. So why would they want to release it now?
They are getting the trail through easement language with the county holding. That was part of the
Right.
negotiations. If we were to say we'll buy the land but we're gonna kick your trail off, they would not sell to the county.
I think they want to use the money in other places.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting
It's-
at
that's-
yeah.
that's what it
I'm
is.
struggling a little bit with that
That's
concept.
kind of a win, yeah.
I think
The
you
win-win of having then the additional, forest management area and, that's already attached to our existing.
Right.
land too. I mean, I wasn't here on the initial discussion, but
And neither was I. So that's why I'm just trying to,
You originally said something about they don't like to manage that much land, so that was part of it, the rest of it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
The Ice Age Trail themselves don't want to manage the land.
right.
And we have interest obviously in the snowmobile trail, not having disconnect there too.
sure.
So
So they'll have an actual easement then.
it's essentially a footpath. I guess it's an easement area. It's not really,
I didn't think the county gave easements on county land.
we do not. And that's why I checked with the state that this footpath wasn't an actual, it's not a, how should I say?
it's not a survey.
It's not a surveyed path that they
Yeah.
have the rights
Yeah,
to
it's
that
special.
area.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's essentially saying the trail is allowed to have a footpath on this property. So, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other question?
What's the value of the timber on it right now? And would it be ready to harvest fairly soon?
The aspen is not. It's roughly about 15 years old. There's some reserves there too. So there's not too much standing timber, but 35 years from now, you're looking at maybe an entry for the aspen for the 32 acres. The 6-acre oak stand would actually just connect, it's the same band of oak, and kind of the same age. So that 6 acres will just lump into one of our stand inventories to the east. So that would be available to harvest when that gets cut, which is, I think, in 2030, somewhere, give or take a couple of years. I don't know, I think I did rough estimates. I know I brought that to you guys originally last year. This has been going on for a year and a half now. So, it's around 20,000, just probably low end estimate, based on a thinning regime of that oak. But the existing aspen, you couldn't really value because it's still growing. So, but some duty in that, 35 years, it will be. So.
Zero interest.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion
I'll make a motion.
to
Approve.
approve and move it to the full board. I don't know if we put this under the consent agenda. Probably not.
I would suggest putting it under the consent agenda. And the reason why I state that is the terms that are contained within this resolution were previously negotiated and authorized by the previous iteration of this committee in closed session and then the county board. So I don't think at this point the county
Can change it.
Would change.
would be acting in good faith if there was a potential for a debate and have this not go through. So I would suggest putting it on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. So is that your motion?
It is my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and Doug seconded. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
forward, thank you. Let's go to 7B. Let's kind of a presentation or anything on the Apple River.
Sure. So we only have 15 minutes. Do you think that's enough time to? Probably. So essentially, we have the town of Apple River that has previously adopted village powers and would like to exercise their own zoning. And this doesn't impact the structural limitations in the shoreland area, but this would impact use in the shoreland and then use and structures outside of the shoreland in the town of Apple River. This all started, we have Rebecca Roker from Atolis Law. She is an attorney out of Milwaukee who also helped the county navigate through this because this originally started as a petition that was drafted by Supervisor Ruck to modify our zoning map as a mechanism by which to accomplish this. And after getting together with Rebecca and speaking with Adam Jarko and getting the intent of what the town wanted and the fact that they had adopted village powers, we determined that the petition that Supervisor Ruck drafted was not the right mechanism to get this accomplished for the town of Apple River. And so that's the topic here today. Claire, if you could pull up the letter and ordinance, then share that on the screen. What we're pulling up here, and it's very tiny, and I apologize, and I can email this out to the committee if you would like. This is the request that came to me May 20th from the town outlining their intent and then the ordinance that passed. My understanding is there's been a public hearing already at the town level. And so I think Mr. Jarko and other folks from the town are here to answer questions about what their intent is. We've got Rebecca Roker, if there are questions on process and how we go forward. But we're really limited as a county in our ability to stand in the way of a town that has already decided to adopt village powers when they want to enact their own zoning ordinance. Obviously, this is about, keeping control at the most local level. So having said that, I don't know if you have questions for me or if Mr. Jarko would like to make a short presentation.
I just, I think the procedure is what we want to know, that it's being done right, I guess. People are worried that way. I'm not positive if there's people against it or not, but to make sure that it was done procedurally.
Sure.
I mean, the content they're going to change on and off anyway, but I mean, if the procedure.
And it still has to be approved by the county. So we would have the public hearing on the proposed change and I guess creation of the ordinance for the town of Apple River. That would come to your August meeting. There would be a public hearing, so that would be published. And then it would move to the full county board later in August. And at that point, that's when the town of Apple River would then be engaging in their own zoning administration. In the letter, it indicates the steps that the town has taken to ensure that they have the staff and resources available to manage their zoning ordinance. So as far as procedure goes, that's the steps. We have to have a public hearing. They've already had their public hearing. We would have one. Move it to county board and then county board. We would have to look at things like, does it meet with comprehensive plan? Does it fit within those parameters? And so that would be at the public hearing where we would have those discussions and where the public could come and provide input.
Okay, so right now, basically then this is just going to be information for us to look at it that way. So that we get ready for the public hearing. So I mean, we had it in our last packet. All right.
Mhm.
So, but we have to have our zoning staff go through it too and check. that what
So
you're saying?
staff certainly would provide their opinion as to
Any
whether it's
conflicts,
comprehensive plan and all of that stuff. Yeah.
and that's what they would do too. Okay.
With the county's comprehensive plan or the town's comprehensive plan?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Right. Adam, do you have any to add? That
I can be real quick.
Question
And
for us.
I know you're on a time crunch here. Appreciate you guys doing this. This is one of those things where no good deed goes unpunished. My town chairman asked me to be on the town plan commission and then shortly thereafter said, you know, we might like to do our own zoning. You want to help with that? Sure. So Adam Jarko, I am on the Town of Apple River Plan Commission. I'm here in that capacity, although I'm an attorney that has helped the town of St. Croix Falls with its zoning and the town of Garfield with its zoning as well. So when the town asked if we wanted to go forward with this, this is about a year that we've been working on this. Started with sort of information sessions, talking to other town board members, town chairmen that have adopted their own zoning. The town board decided it wanted to go forward. So from your question, Mr. Chairman, on procedure, the statute's very clear on how you do this as a town. So we went through the process, got an ordinance together, had a public hearing. At the public hearing, we had some really good input, so we made some tweaks to the ordinance based on that. Had another public hearing because the ordinance had changed a little bit at the Plan Commission. Plan Commission then recommended approval to the town board. Town board had been engaged in the process all along, took that ordinance, approved the ordinance, and then the last step from the town perspective is to have the electors approve it at its annual meeting. So in April at the town's annual meeting, town electors came out and actually had a pretty good turnout and overwhelmingly approved it at the town's annual meeting. So you then had a resolution from the town board asking the county to approve this. So I've been working with Corporation Counsel Malone on that, getting that approval done. I think she's right that particularly under the new state law that the county really doesn't have a way to stand in the way of it. You can delay it and you know, that kind of stuff. But from a local control perspective, I'm not sure why you would do that. I know Sharon has been on a town board with town zoning and I've worked with lots of towns with town zoning. I think it works really, really, really well. It's great for the citizens. It's great from a local control perspective. There is no downside from a shoreland, wetland perspective because the county continues to administer those ordinances in the towns that have their own zoning. So I think this is a good thing for the town, and I don't know of a reason why a county wouldn't want a town to undertake its own general zoning. So with that, I hope that you guys will do whatever Malia tells you needs to be done from a procedural perspective to move it through the process.
To keep it going, okay. All right, any questions, Adam? All right. Who else was on there?
Rebecca Roper. I don't know, Rebecca, if you want to, do we have her as a panelist and unmuted?
She can talk.
I'm unmuted on my end. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can. Is there we've missed that you think it's important for this committee to know?
No, I think between your comments, Attorney Malone, and Mr. Jarko's comments, you hit the highlights. If you have any questions regarding the specific statutory procedures and the county's involvement in the process, certainly let me know. But the statutes do set forth a specific process that the town has to go through and specific requirements that the town has to meet. So if you have questions on those, please let me know.
You know, have they met those specifications so far to keep it moving?
Yes, I believe so. And there, just briefly, there is new legislation that came forward and was approved this past year that makes a significant change to the dynamic between town and county zoning. And while that legislation is effective, it doesn't have an effective date for several years. So we are still operating under the existing provisions of 60.62 of the statutes. And that requires the town to go through certain planning steps, which it appears that they've done. And then there is the county approval of the town's ordinance because the elements of 60.62 sub 3 are met in this case. So yes, based on the information I have, sir, the town has met those requirements. I haven't done a formal review, but again, based on the information I've received, and I know Malia has been involved in this, so I don't have any questions as to whether they've met those requirements.
Okay, and that review will be done so that we can have the public hearing at our next meeting.
We'll have the public hearing at our
That'll
next
all
meeting.
be vet it out. Okay. That sounds good then, that keeps moving. Anybody else, any questions? Good on that? Okay. Well, thank you. That'll do we. What else do we need?
I think we should set a public hearing for the next meeting in August, probably set the time for 9:30. We'll publish, and with this committee's permission, we'll forward to Rebecca to do that final review if the committee would prefer. I think that would be cleanest,
They have to
David, so-
review, because it sounds like it's pretty much
just given some changes that are happening in my office.
out already. Okay.
Does that need a motion?
No, I don't.
I don't think
so.
you need a motion. I just wanted to make sure I had the consensus of the committee to cause that.
We have a busy meeting. Should we do it at 10? So that we can get some of the other business done ahead of time and move our public hearing to 10, and then
Rebecca, do you have your
people
calendar?
aren't sitting through a lot of stuff.
Do you have your calendar available to see if you would be free for a Teams appearance? It would be the first Wednesday in August,
Yes.
which is
August 7th.
August
Seventh.
7th. What does your morning look like on August 7th?
I actually have another board meeting at 9 AM that morning. So I don't know what the committee's time looks like, if your meetings are usually set at 8 or.
They're set at 9, but this particular committee has a tendency to run long.
Yeah,
So-
I could join at, well, I mean, if the meeting is at 9, I can try to work around that other meeting that's already set for 9.
Thinking a public hearing for around 10, and what we
About
can do,
10.
if you're not available, I can have the review, as long as you and I talk about it ahead of time, I can have the review and present that to the committee. And if you
Okay.
are able, then you can hop on, and if you are not, we'll work around that.
Okay, that sounds great.
So we'll have a note of that on the end that it's the public hearing will be at 10. We don't, if we have any other ones that day yet, we don't, okay. We'll know in a week or so. All right, so we should be good then, are we then?
Just to be clear, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock
Yes,
for the
on the
public hearing.
7th.
On the 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, you've got 2 minutes until your public hearing, so.
So we'll all take a deep breath. Not much we can do.
Yes, there you go.
I need to stand up.
It is 9:30 right now. That clock's wrong.
2 minutes.
So I'm-
Yeah.
Agreed.
I
Like the one that you speak, you just walk up.
I have 9:30 on.
Agreed. I do too.
I have 9:30.
I do too. Look at that watch.
It is 9:30.
I do too.
I get to do all of it.
The official
The clock's right.
clock.
But I will.
We go by Sharon's, remember?
Yeah.
That's right.
Sharon has the official clock.
Do we have, whoa, where's Dane?
Logan and
It's Bob and Dane Christensen for the,
I'll just go through the
oh, okay, you're gonna do it?
right from here.
Got it, Kim.
Got it.
Got it.
Got it?
It is safe.
Claire, can we put up the, yeah, as soon as you open the public hearing?
So we'll open the public hearing. Do you want to read this in then, Sarah? You want to read the announcement in, please?
Yes, this is the Haas Sons Property LLC rezone from residential Ag 5, RA5 to residential R1. I'll go through the findings of fact here that the staff had. You can see the property, the request involves a 25.11 acre parcel in the town of Osceola. The one highlighted there.
Oh,
No, that's,
no, I think that's the purchase.
Yeah, that's,
That looks like the purchase.
yeah, that's not,
Claire promised me she was going to be on her A game.
okay.
Blair is.
Get her all riled up.
Logan had put all of them in the, yeah, there you go.
No.
Was it in the email? It wasn't it? I didn't look at it. Again, I didn't print it.
I sent you the packet. It's in the packet. When it does that, it's a packet.
See, there's a big note on his corner. Him's copy.
Because it make me a hard copy.
Wow.
And they put it in my mailbox, so I get it.
Just. I was expecting email from. Yeah. From Nicole. Yeah.
Okay,
There we go. That's it.
you can see Lotus Lake there to the south. And then what you see before you there is the 25.11 acre piece in the town of Osceola. The property is surrounded by residential Ag 5 zoning to the west and to the north. And the east. The land to the south is zoned natural resources. And Lotus Lake is a class 1 body of water directly across the road from this particular site. Approximately 75% of this property is within general zoning. And 25% of it, due to the body of water, is within the shoreline area. The applicant is seeking to rezone to create a residential subdivision to replace the current non-metallic mine. The town of Osceola did approve this rezone on May 6th, 2024. The access to the property is from the south off of 90th Avenue, which is a town road. No permits have been pulled on the property. No wetlands, floodplains, or navigable water are present on this property. And the county provided a proper class 2 legal notice prior to this hearing, and we received no public comment on this request. I'm sorry, just for due process. After that brief staff report that typically is done by the administrator, do we open the floor for the applicant to come up and give any other
Yes,
information?
we're gonna open up that for them. Well, the other thing is okay,
There was a,
because the reclamation plan, was that back in the day that was done?
yeah, the reclamation plan,
Just so brief, hit that there was a reclamation plan for that pit.
yes,
And that included coming back to this.
yes.
It wasn't the reason for,
Oh, yes, I'm
So
sorry. I
it
missed that
changed.
one. The reclamation plan for the non-metallic mine states the future land use will be for building sites.
okay.
That was right in their reclamation plan. Yeah.
And that was, do you remember the year that was done? So you have that when the pit was open? 2001. What's the plan to,
There is a preliminary kind of layout of development for a site plan, but obviously they'll have to go through a major subdivision process.
through the state? Sure.
The county.
All right, is an owner here of this land? Yes, come on up. It's your intentions. State your name, please, so.
Good morning. My name is Sean Bohan. I'm an engineer with Advanced Engineering Concepts. I'm here representing Haas Sons LLC for the proposed rezone. Points were hit, 25 acres. We're looking at changing it from RA5 to R1. One thing to note around Lotus Lake, both to the west, south, and to the east, ends up being the R1 zoning. The lots are 1 to 2 acres. So we feel that this ends up fitting within that neighborhood. And again, we do end up knowing that we have to come back for the subdivision ordinances, not only with the town, but also with the county. And then we'll have to go through the Department of Administration with the state and everything. There's still a lot of information that we will need to collect. We'll have to end up having survey information. We'll have some soil logs that are done for septic and drain fields. We'll end up having environmental just to make sure that everything is covered as far as not having any wetlands, low areas, that type of stuff also. But this is basically just that first step of going through, getting the zoning change, and then we'll do our due diligence and stuff as far as the lot layouts. One thing to note is that it is kind of narrow at the beginning at the intersection with 90th. So the portion that's probably within the shoreline zoning will be pretty minimal as far as the number of lots that we would end up having. And then it widens out after, maybe 400 or 500 feet and stuff like that, widens out. We're able to get it. So, we don't anticipate, if we have the R1 zoning, 25 acres, we don't anticipate having, 23, 22 lots and stuff in there. We're gonna have stormwater facilities. We're gonna have road right away. And it just doesn't end up setting itself up for having basically a looped road system. So our lots are gonna be bigger than the 1 acre. So we're anticipating somewhere in the maybe 15 to 17 lots over the 25 acres. And then with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions, anyone? Well, none to start with.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. We have people here.
Anybody else want to say?
Anybody else? Yes.
I'll just state my name. I'm Dan Birch. I have the adjoining property next to that. We have no opposition to any development in that area. I just want clarification. Has the reclamation been completed already on the pit? Because it's not been active for many years.
I don't think it has been. I think that's what I had talked to him a couple weeks ago about it, and I don't think it is from the pictures. So I think the reclamation plan is gonna be part of, I think they said the gravel and stuff they're gonna use for the road that's there and stuff, for roads and stuff.
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay, that's all I just wanted. Thank you.
all right. Anyone else? Else with any concerns or anything? Okay. And this is just the rezone part that we're on. All right. Let's,
We want to go through conclusions of law then?
yeah, I think I'll close the public hearing then so that we can go through those.
Okay.
All right, so we'll close the public hearing. 9.
So the conclusion of law that the zoning administrator had mentioned that changing the zoning of this property to R1 is supported by the town of Osceola. The surrounding land use has multiple subdivisions within half mile of the property, as well as Lotus Lake being a class 1 body of water. Therefore, the rezoning of the property complies with the Polk County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, existing and surrounding land use, and will not have a negative impact on public infrastructure. Those were Logan's notes regarding the rezone.
To the rezone part, and then all the other comments, the wetlands and all that, and setbacks will be done.
In the findings of fact.
So,
Yep.
for subdivision
Yes,
and stuff, not for rezone.
right.
All right. Anyone have any questions then on the rezone part? Y'all feel good about the conditions, findings of facts? All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion then
I'll make a motion.
to approve
Yes.
I'll second it.
and move to the county board under the consent agenda.
Yes.
Okay,
That too.
will a second be with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it does move forward then.
All right. Ooh, first rezone.
Number 8, then where's Eric?
This is number 8 is the discussion on the conservation easement.
Yes.
Well, Malia and I can probably handle that one as well. Malia's still working on it.
That's it. I talked to Eric,
And tomorrow's what? Oh, the 4th, okay.
no, I talked to Eric earlier this week on another matter and he brought this up and So now it's back on my plate. I completely dropped the ball.
No, you didn't. We're just still working through the process of finalizing all the legal documents.
It's Joe's fault because he's out.
It's that darn baby was born.
But no, I've just been spread a little thin, and so I'm still working.
Okay,
That easement will hopefully be on the August 7th agenda as well.
just, it's one of those that we just stay in love.
Luckily, it's not time sensitive,
Yeah,
so-
okay.
but
Most of it's about the half moon part, isn't it?
it's just really, honestly, I think.
For general too.
About drafting it. I've never drafted one before. I received and sought out copies from the DNR and using that as a template. And then Eric provided a previous one. I just have to really sit down and actually go through it and do it.
Okay.
That's
All
really
right.
all that's left.
We could do it together.
Yeah.
So number 9, our process.
Number 9.
Number 9, yes,
The right agenda in front of me.
Rezone CUP.
yes,
Okay,
We asked for this.
yes, you did.
I didn't have any comments on the CUP myself. That comes through you if you want to make some. But as far as the process goes, I see Tim come in just a minute ago, and I'm starting at the beginning, and we're talking about when the zones were created, it went to the towns. And I happened to be at Bone Lake each one of the meetings and the discussion, and you go R1, R5, R10, R20. Well, they just picked one out of the sky because that seemed to fit what they wanted. So what I'm saying is we come to these hearings on a rezone, but no one looked into the future to really understand that if you are R20 and somebody wants to do, that's a good example, and put in R1s, well, then you have to go through this whole system where you come here and pay for the permit for, whatever you're getting.
The rezone, yeah,
Rezone.
yeah.
And if the town denies the rezone, it ends right there. So why can't we come up with a process that takes it to the town and they say, fine. And then they send a document to the county that says that we've done this. And then that goes into the file. And if a constituent comes in or the owner comes in and wants to build, well, then they got to get a building permit. So the process, they look up what was done and it was okayed instead of going through this every time.
Every piece of land getting redone.
Yeah.
So
If the
if the town rezoned it, you'd say the county doesn't have to go through this, then it would
Just
come.
trying to come up with a plan
Yeah,
of how you could
I
do
don't know
it.
how we would.
Yeah, unfortunately, the statute requires that we hold a public hearing, even though at times, knowing that the town is in favor of particular rezone will make the public hearing at the county level kind of perfunctory. But unfortunately, we have to do it. And there are times, I suppose, where, folks are gonna speak at the town and speak here, hoping that maybe they can shift some opinion, but I don't think there's any way we can get out of holding that public hearing.
I was looking at you guys, but I was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I-
I totally hear what you're saying, and I think if I were queen and we're gonna rewrite the statute, we would say it doesn't make sense to have,
To do it twice.
but,
Basically, it's doing it twice.
but it's state law. I mean,
It's-
it is state law.
and you have to imagine that there might be some rogue towns. I'm certainly sure not in Polk County, but in other parts of the state where they might have rezones that are completely outside of the bounds of a comprehensive plan, are just so bizarre. And in those cases, you would want that second level of oversight. And again, I'm not saying any towns in Polk County would do that, but in general, our rezones, they're gonna be pretty straightforward most of the time. And then there's the probably 20% where there's maybe an issue.
I guess I just want to come back with one question, because even today, in order to do this project, it's a good example. But they have to have subdivision ordinance. I mean, you gotta make, and that all goes through zoning, so every step of this is looked at after the fact.
But in order to get the reduced lot size they wanted, Doug, they needed to go through the process with the town so that there was a strong understanding that instead of 5-acre lots, it's gonna be a 1-acre lot. And that's where that element of local control comes in to really allow for that to occur. And so, it gave even this gentleman that came as a neighbor, had an opportunity at the town and wanted to come here at the county just to make sure. Now we have to go through, a subdivision process or make sure the reclamation was completed. So I guess it is that 2-tiered system. But again, like Malia said, I understand what you're saying. It does feel like it's sort of, if the town approves it, it feels like kind of the most important, bless you, the most important thing for the findings of fact. But according to Wisconsin statutes that basically guide and run the zoning, county zoning, we need to go through the process at the town as well. And it has to go before the full board. Even if it's on the consent
Makes me feel
agenda.
better to know.
All right. Glad you
Good question. I mean, it's good to ask. It's good to know.
And you also were talking about conditional use permits in that same agenda item. Was there a question about?
Chairman mentioned at that, and I don't have anything on that.
Oh, okay.
But
Just said
if Pam has questions, because you said that
process.
you're into the new,
Well, I don't have specific questions right now. I just appreciate you bringing it up and as I'm trying to learn all this stuff, I do appreciate it being brought up. And I know some of the conditional use permits fall under certain specific requests for zoning and certain, or, depending on what they're doing. So I don't have any specific questions. I just think it's really valuable to even have this conversation.
Sure. I think one of the things you'll run into that the old timers on this committee would know, oftentimes we'll have a rezone request first. And then following that, we'll have a conditional use permit. Let's say it's for, I don't know, a winery and it's allowed in this particular zoning district, but not the other. First, they'll have to go through the rezone. And oftentimes both the applicant and the committee will want to get into a discussion about, well, what are you going to do with that winery? And so making sure we separate the original request to rezone and then allow that conditional use permit hearing to happen at a time in the future when we do the correct public notification and have the public hearing, because that's the only thing that I think that the committee can trip up on as we go through. And, obviously we'll do our best to keep the guardrails on. Supervisor O'Connell is very, very good about that because he's been through it so many times, but that's one of the things you'll run into.
Right.
Because there's no conditions on it, rezone.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a yes or no.
Right. Well, it's a yes or no, and you have to look at factors as.
And there's
Does it
30,
qualify
40,
or does it not?
and even though they rezone it, they can say they're doing a subdivision, but there's 30 other things they can do.
Right.
So,
Because right now, like rezone we just included, if you look at that new zoning, there's a list this long of
yeah,
things they could be
they
doing.
can do if they would change their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
The
have
other,
to change the basic zoning of it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but the thing is telling us what they're gonna do in planning is just maybe to help us move it along.
with the change to our ordinance that took away the requirement for a conditional use permit for certain tourist rooming houses, the vacation rentals, VRBOs and Airbnbs. Now we are following the statute as it is explicitly, and it's just a land use permit. So you will not be receiving conditional use permit tourist rooming house applications.
Well, we still have received quite a few calls in office, just so you know, about the 180-day limit that the state, that it basically following state statute. But the other option then for those vacation owners would be to rezone into, into where like a resort would be allowable use, so they could rent it year long and do multiple things. But people don't want to do that because then there perhaps would be commercial tax or other things that would come along with that. So just
A lot of things get added on to that.
yeah, FYI.
And
Yep.
it's also interesting because we have CUPs here. I am City of St. Croix Falls now. Their CUP process totally not like what we do here. Town of St. Croix Falls, they call it special exceptions instead of CUPs, but it pretty much does the same as is here. So when you go to the different towns and villages, their CUP process might not look like what we do.
Different statute.
Yeah.
Yeah, municipalities, has a different one. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just add on to something, some of the comments from Doug? The planning process to get to these zoning districts is kind of all over the map. For a lot of the communities, the last time we did comprehensive planning was the first time we did. So it's not like you have a crystal ball, so you know exactly what's going to happen in the future. It's a guiding document. And that's why we have rezoning processes, is because you don't know for sure that that's what it's going to look like in the future. So it's your best guess, your best idea as to the vision you want for your community. And then once you have identified like location wise within your community, then you assign those zoning districts to implement it. So if there's an area where you want to say, hey, we want to keep this as rural as possible, then you're probably going to zone it Ag 20 because that's going to limit the amount of development. If you want to see like areas develop, like you have a node like Range or someplace there where there's a unincorporated hamlet kind of thing, then you're going to maybe zone it either the hamlet district or R1. So is it perfect? No, but it's the best guess in the community input as to what the future of that community looks like. Is drawn up in a future land use map, and then you implement that with zoning.
That was just done not that long, where we went around because of the 300 feet
Yeah.
around every lake and stuff.
When we rewrote the zoning ordinance. back-
Because if you pull up a map, boom, you hit, the thing turns green. But it isn't all ag, it says ag plan if you happen to read the sides, but it makes the whole map green. That's where that exclusive ag and stuff caught us, but. All right, are we good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty good, okay. Cause now we get to the bread and butter, we're right to the budget.
Well, my favorite month,
Yes,
except for August, September, and October.
yeah, except for the next one's coming.
Things are going okay. We started the budget process a little earlier this year, maybe creating some consternation for my colleagues, department leadership and division leadership, but we want a little bit more room. And everyone's got their fee schedules in, which is great. And I think you got yours in real early. So this committee doesn't really have much to do today with respect to fee schedules. But just to give you an update on other things that are going on, department and division leaders submitted, as of last Friday, additional funding requests. So those are projects, whether they're capital or operating, to take the county in potentially new directions. And every year, sometime in February or March, I say, there's no money, forget it. Don't put any additional funding requests in. And of course, that means people put more in. So this year we had on the low side about $4 million worth of requests and on the high side about $6 million. Now ES, small fraction of the budget, relatively small number of additional funding requests and a small dollar volume. So Administrator Norby and I will be reviewing those next week, and then we'll get together with Sarah and her team. That's going pretty well so far. There's going to be a lot of no's and a few yeses. We've been reviewing income statements with department and division leaders. So the income statement just is the sort of revenues expected and expenses expected. And just yesterday and late last week, we met with ES folks and we've got a little bit to clear up, but you know, we're moving in the right direction on those income statements. So that's good. Every department and division does annual reports a little bit different. Lee, CSD produces a document that's this thick, and then we reduce it to 1 page for the budget book. Other departments may just stick with that 1-page format, but we've asked all departments to have drafts ready of their annual reports, which sort of documents what's happened so far in 24 and what the plans are for 25. So I think we've got all the departments and divisions 1-page annual reports done in draft form. And you'll get a chance to see those when we publish the first edition of the budget book in September. Another big component, particularly over the last few years because of the ARPA dollars, is we've had pretty nice looking capital improvement plan. Last time I checked, there were no more ARPA dollars coming. So, in the past, the county has relied on general fund balance if there was any available and bonding to take care of capital projects. So with the sort of ARPA hangover finished, we're going to be looking to get back on the sort of standard plan. And when Administrator Norby presents the budget in September, his first view on the budget, I'm guessing you're going to see a request for some bonding or borrowing to hit some important capital projects. That's what I've got. Happy to answer any questions.
How about the health insurance stuff?
Yep.
Is that still staying?
That's my least favorite topic.
Okay, then we'll skip it.
No, I mean, I think it's worth updating.
How's that?
Actually, there's a little bit of good news. So we've had three really challenging claims years that basically were sucking out $1.5 to $2 million a year of the health fund. So if we were at 8.7, 2.5 years ago, you know, we're at 3 right now. That's not fun. The good news is we think we may have turned the quarter, knock on fake wood, with some of the situation we had around high claims. So we had been going into the budget predicting a pretty substantial departmental increase, 15% for health-related benefits, and also on the employees as well. That's a lot of dough. So, but you know, we're thinking we're going to be able to dial that back a little bit to say 10%. Still an incredible increase, you know, year over year. But last year we went 12.5. We were thinking we were going to have to go 15 this year. We're going to back off that just a little bit. So the health fund is actuarially stable, but it's nowhere near what it was because of those 3 tough years.
But we're not going to draw out of it anymore then. We're leaving.
Well, our idea is to keep it
down.
at sort of the actuarial minimum or close to it. And if things really turn around, we may be able to build it back up. If you'll recall, though, our accountant for the last 2 years has been saying there's too much money in there. We just wanted to do it in a planned way to dial it down. Yeah, but reality got in the way. So.
Okay. All right.
And that's
So much.
as Don stated, as we look at the budget this year, you know, with the ARPA dollars, stream dried up, and now we're looking back at that plan that Administrator Dana Fry set up on bonding to keep our levy flat and stable, as backfilling these capital projects versus relying on the levy to go outside the levy and bond those.
Right. And it actually will, in some ways, the borrowing makes us money because we will be making more. I know Supervisor O'Connell loves this conversation, but really it's in not only the county's financial interest, but also the taxpayers' financial interest to engage in some of this borrowing.
Also, when you look at this as a whole, you know, because we have our general fund, our savings account, right? We have numerous amount of projects right now that are out there that are earmarked. You know, we have Clam Falls Dam. Although we have state money coming in for that, you know, $2 million grant and matching grants and all that, we have to pay for that up front first before you can even go back after that money. The same way I've encumbered for the D.D. Kennedy Bridge, you know, almost $300,000 for that. The dam repairs on Atlas, the DNR are dragging their feet on. It's 2 years now, and they hope to get the plans reviewed by the end of the year, this year. So that'll be another rolling project with our friends from the DNR. So as we look at not going into our savings account and bonding to keep our levy flat and stabilized and our mill rate where we need to be. So that's the mechanism to get these projects off the ground and our matching funds for the highway federal projects and stuff without dipping into our savings account. At this point with our interest rate, and make money borrowing versus spending down our savings account.
Yeah, it's different for municipalities and governments because we can borrow money for less, the interest rate's lower than what our investment rate is right now. There's a word for that, which I can't use in a public forum. But it's a good situation for the county.
You gotta be careful how you do it.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Can I just mention one other thing? The largest AFR for, that we did submit is for the LiDAR, the R portion of the LiDAR. It's where the county pays $72,000 for $172,000 of product. The county did do a letter of intent to participate in that Wisconsin Regional Ortho Imagery Consortium. But it is an AFR. So that is like Don said, I think our AFRs are pretty minimal.
I thought that was set aside when we first did that.
Well, it wasn't. So we did an AFR for that.
Really? Okay.
But it is anyway, I
Because
just wanted to make.
It was supposed to be last year. We got it, but they're behind too. The LiDAR thing.
Because didn't that come out of ARPA funds too? Part of
We
that
already-
LiDAR?
That cycle is done. This is for the 2025 flight that's
Okay.
upcoming.
Okay.
Oh, right, because we haven't got the other one yet, though.
We do have it now.
We
Yes,
do have it.
we
It
do
did
have
come.
it. Yes, it did come. The other piece of that is the LiDAR flight in 2025, and then the LiDAR viewer, that's $9,000. So I mean, a total of $81,000 for those asks.
So that it can be on the internet for everyone.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
And those flights are instrumental also to next gen 911 as dispatch
Yeah.
goes through those and pinpoints that call
Thank you.
with the resolution and the accuracy of these flights now. They can start to pinpoint those to a call coming on a second floor versus a first floor.
Yes.
You know, so it as all the GIS that ES division does and stuff is critical to next gen 911 also from that end, from our first responders and law enforcement.
Well, that one even had where they'd mark all the culverts.
Yeah.
That is one, they show a shadow there.
Show it. Yeah.
So does,
All right.
this is kind of, I guess it kind of pertains. So cities don't have to participate in the new addressing, right?
No, the arm of county government does not reach down into the villages and cities as far as the addressing projects. Some of them, I believe, have requested to participate.
I'm learning a lot from going to the city of Sacred
That's
Falls.
hard.
It's just, I shake my head.
Yeah, the arm of county government does not reach down into
Yeah.
village and cities.
So that makes it hard when you're like a town that hires the city of St. Croix Falls Fire Department to do your calls, and they don't have that addressing in the city,
Right,
but they have it in the town. It's kind of crazy that
it's
you
interesting.
would think that they would be required to follow that same process.
One last, all right. Some of these policies, are we rewriting any? Got, or
I
updating,
can address that. So,
you know, some of their purchase policy, some of that, are we
been
catching?
been around there for a year and a half. The General Government Committee is looking at the personnel policy this month. And we have a draft of the, bless you, updated financial policy that we're going to be working with division directors on. We just wanted to get the personnel policy through first. So that's imminent.
So that one, that purchasing policy and some of that's coming yet then.
Yes.
Okay,
That's it, sir?
that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're still gonna stand up there.
Number 11.
Yeah.
Update.
Okay, so as Don mentioned, we did have our 5 additional funding requests, more on that in August. Speaking of addressing project, that has now, when Administrator Cheez-It left, some of those duties were transferred down to our GIS coordinator, Brad Runneberg. With our full zoning staff, that project has now come back into zoning, so that's the location of, or that's where the hub of that addressing project will take place. We do currently have 2 towns underway. Johnstown has ordered 518 signs, 150 of those are changes. This is where you guys are gonna start to get calls, right? And me too. When I left 6 years ago, this was
Whatever.
this was interesting. Although I feel like there's more support and understanding of addressing now, especially as it relates to 911 and EMS. So that has been a positive change. The other addressing project that is underway, and letters will be going out to constituents within the next 2 weeks, is Balsam Lake, the town of Balsam Lake. They are ordering a total of 1,170 signs. 653 of them are address changes. 653 address changes to meet our ordinance.
Well, they've been on zone for how many?
And a lot of that, yes. Keep in mind, a lot of that may be getting them on, on the proper grid, especially around lakes. So some of them are not year-round residents. Doesn't matter. It's still a change and it will be hard. So we're kind of getting our elevator script ready for the office. And I just wanted to make you aware because that's always a hot button, a political button there as well. So get the 911 discussion prepared. Land and Water, thank you to Kim and Sharon for attending that Land Plus Water Northwest Regional Plan or Northwest meeting in Spooner, not regional planning. We are excited to announce that Eric Wycheck is going to be a new board of director member, which is just good to be involved on those committees and making sure that Polk County is represented. And actually, he represents the entire Northwest region, that area. So that was exciting. I do have, he asked that I give these to you, Chair. This is the LCC handbook. I think perhaps you got one.
We
at the
both have
meeting.
I have mine.
Thought maybe the other members would want one. This is a really good, some really good information in here about how the committee interacts with Land Plus Water staff, how we can work together, how staff kind of interacts back with the committee, and just work together to accomplish the goals of Land Plus Water. So I will give these to you after the meeting, Kim, or if
Yep.
I just want to give them to Doug, Tracy, and
Sure.
and I always want to call you Dale.
Don't have a name.
I know.
Random person.
Random farmer.
I always want to call his dad's name. And I just wanted to let you all know that in August, before I took this position, my husband and I had made a plan for travel to Italy. And so I will not be at the August 7th meeting. Ms. Malone will still be here to guide the process for Apple River. I have 100% faith. And then the rest of the ES leadership team, Tim Anderson, Eric Wycheck, and Logan Hacker will be present to handle any business that's needed. It's kind of a tough time as far as budgets, but I've been told it'll be okay. Anything else for me? Our permits are up a tad. Looking at revenues, trying to raise them accordingly, probably will raise both septic and land use even just a tad more than where we're at right now. Looking back at finance director.
Raising fees again?
Well, you decided at this point that fees were going to stay the same.
Yeah, our fee schedule's good for now.
But
Cause it's all over, because I get one here. It's 525, 700 in St. Croix, and it's only 400 in Barron.
right,
So there's the difference in the three counties.
yes,
So we're right in the middle, so.
right. Yeah, I think that's all I had to report for July. I hope you all have a great 4th.
Okay.
One question regarding the signage and maybe whether it's legitimate or not. So you just talked about getting your elevator speech ready for when people call. So the signs are coming from, I mean, even though the towns have requested, and the sign actually comes from you guys?
Right, we make the bulk sign order.
Yep. And then, but so when a landowner or a residence, they get it, where is this sign? Who is it coming from? What does that look like? And then what is the communication for them on that side as far as what to do, how to do, whatever? Or is the town go and put them all up?
So the town does do the placement.
Okay.
It's kind of that cooperating.
Yep.
They do the placement. The communication comes from the zoning office.
Okay.
So next week, there will be communication coming from Administrator Hacker or me. I mean, I guess I'm still kind of figuring out how that corresponds. In the past, it's been the zoning administrator. And then it also lists out of things, an itemized list of things to take care of with regard to posting,
Sure.
what you need to do when your address changes.
So go to the post office, everything.
Yes,
What's happened is the numbers are off. There's too many A's and B's. So you might be 399, say, but now you're 399 B, C, D. Nope, now you're 401,
Sure.
402,
Right,
403. But there's some that the whole road is wrong. It's,
Right.
Right.
you have 1300 and you go to the next house and it's 800. And you go like.
Oh, right. And
what happened here?
I understand the reason for the change. I was just curious as far as how that communication goes through. So again, if I end up fielding any calls, I can at least understand I understand the 911 reason totally and completely. I think it makes a ton of sense.
yeah, there will be a letter.
But how is it really communicated to them as far as now, even though I don't like it, what do I need to do? So that was my question. So thank you.
Right, and so there will be a letter and it will be itemized out. We could even give our elevator, we can share what we are saying to the constituents as well. We will have several people that will just outright say that they're not going to change. you know, obviously we have to just work through,
Not an option.
work with them. And, you know, the other backbone of this is that the towns, which is different than before, but the towns are electing to participate in this. Your local officials have decided that this is a super important thing for emergency management and it's valuable. So there is that.
Book it, know their names when they call.
It's a little different. I will say too now though, with some additional subdivisions that are coming in, that is also the impetus for some address changes at times because now they're changing things. And then that's unfortunate if you live next to somebody that decided to, you know, split a lot and now your address has to change. But that is what it is now with parcelization and development in the county.
And usually the calls you get go to the town clerks. Because
That's where it should go,
yeah, they go to the town clerks.
Yep, yep.
And because
Have
the
Tracy's
towns,
number.
because the towns are now they're voting approval to do this. I think the calls have been less than they were when it first started.
Sure.
Because when it first started, we used to have a lot of people come in and
Right.
Every meeting.
with maps showing us why.
And I also think some of the most difficult is when you're like Malia and I live next to each other and we've all had to transition up. So now Malia has my old address and I have this old address because that does happen. And so then that can be a little bit difficult at times too. And
I just built a big fence, violated some zoning code, so we're fine.
Yeah, 16 foot high.
just move in together. You have to say zip.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, any other questions on that? I think it would be important for us to just share that correspondence with you guys that we send out. So.
And I do think political, public political opinion is shifting. At the beginning, there was, well, if you can find me on Google Maps, then,
Shouldn't matter.
police and fire can find me. And that education has been out there and they realize that that's not how that works. And so I think hopefully we're getting to a place. I know the county staff have become very adept at communicating with folks because they've had these conversations so many times. And it's, we deal with it all the time and this is the property owner's one address. So we get it. It's important and giving them the respect, hearing them out, but also understanding the importance of the change.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
And when you
But
hear
you can
that,
drive around, there's a lot of them you can't even see.
no,
You know, they're covered, but the old little square ones, and some of them are old. And I've had people move and take their sign with them. They
Yeah.
don't want to change their address. That's where you get the 13 to 800. The guy took his sign with him and said, I would have the same address, just a different road. He took his sign and put it up.
If I were queen, I would have transitioned to a 5 number because I
5
think
or 6.
we're still gonna run out of addresses at some point, but,
At least we're
I'm
not
not-
Barron County.
yes.
No halves and
27
3/8.
and a half or 3.
Yeah.
If they ever get a chance to talk to the EMTs and fire people too, and they tell some of their stories.
Yeah.
I mean, how they can't find someplace and
Yeah.
somebody has a heart attack and they don't get to them in time because they couldn't find it because of the signs.
Oh, yeah.
We technically have 3 Fifth Avenues that we cover.
And this is.
We have Fifth Avenue in Blackbrook Township. We have Fifth
I had
Avenue
that too.
in Clear Lake.
That's all
And
right.
we have Fifth Avenue in Barron County.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That
And they
makes-
could all have the same Clear Lake address. It could all be.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Yuck.
Crazy.
but we go to the northern county and address is come.
Well, in Dunn County, so typically the county lines are, it's like Polk Barron or
Mhm.
Polk.
Yeah.
St. Croix Dunn County, and so that's typically 0, right?
Yeah, sure.
Between Dunn County and St. Croix County, that's 10th.
Oh, yeah, it's already off. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
Crazy.
It's weird.
All right.
That's all I have.
Our next meeting then
August 7th, you already have the public hearing.
at 10.
Yep.
What's in our work plan for August?
It also talks about tax delinquent properties,
Eas-
pushed out until October.
Yep,
Yeah.
the conservation easement.
Yes.
That will be done.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those 2 things, and then it's whatever else comes up.
If there's any more discussion on budget, I'm not sure, but my colleagues will handle that, I'm sure.
Okay. Any litigation update that we need yet?
We do. We don't need a closed session. Litigation update is, as Supervisor O'Connell knows, the Circuit Court, Judge Tolan, Branch 1, granted our motion to dismiss the case of the Wisconsin Realtors Association versus Polk County zoning. We argued that the Wisconsin Realtors Association lacked standing to file the suit, successfully argued that only a property owner that was impacted had standing, or I shouldn't say only, but a property owner would have standing, and the WRA is an association of realtors, brokers, lenders. And while they might have some down the road interest in land use regulation, that a homeowners association would likely have standing, but not a Wisconsin Realtors Association. It was several rounds of briefing, oral arguments, and we had the oral ruling from Judge Tolan. I inquired with the Wisconsin Realtors Association attorney, Ms. Martin. She indicated she does not anticipate filing an appeal of that action with the Court of Appeals because they don't want this to become statewide precedent, which made me feel kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so what we need to now look out for is potential, another suit from a private property owner. However, because we did change our rooming house, that took away a substantial amount of the claims that they were making. So we might not see another cause of action filed, but that is the update on that.
We did have one constituent call and ask for a conditional use permit on the tourist rooming house so that they could extend the number of days from the 180 on. And at this point, the ordinance, I mean, it's clear. We are following state law and we're not going to be moving forward with conditional uses in that nature. They have an opportunity to rezone their property if they want to run a resort. Okay,
Yeah, because it'll be considered commercial, yes.
yes.
And the Stour litigation is in the Court of Appeals. Andy Phillips and Matt Tome. All the briefing, I believe, is completed and we're just gonna hurry up and wait. But I feel good about it.
About the Blue Rock.
Oh, Blue Rock, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, no, we did.
We're just in that neighborhood.
We were served a writ of cert, action, a summons and complaint. The court did issue the writ, so now I'm working with zoning staff to put together the record. We already put together the record when they first filed the action, when it was just the Environmental Services Committee. Now that it's gone to Board of Adjustment, the court has accepted it, so that is in the works. There's also the federal case. There's a federal case that was filed by a citizen, mostly against the DNR, but in part against zoning for going on property at some point. Was it last year? A while ago. It's a pro se filing. That means the person who filed this federal lawsuit is not an attorney. It's kind of hard to understand their pleading, but we filed the answer. The DNR through the Attorney General's office has filed their answer. There's also other citizens that were neighbors of this person that are part of the lawsuit. I'm not concerned about it, but it's just something we have to defend.
Okay.
Is that related to Blue Rock or is that?
No, it's a sovereign
It's a-
citizen, anti-government person.
A YouTuber.
Ones where they don't need driver's license.
Yeah.
Travelers.
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that, but the Blue Rock, as far as the procedural
Did they
standpoint.
send it to St. Croix to Judge Flack, so we don't have to worry about it for 5, 6
No,
years?
this one's going to Tolan.
Oh, it went to
It'll happen with
Total justice.
going to Judge Tolan, and he already issued the writ, so we have to put the record together and get that up. We only need to add a little bit to the record of what happened at the Board of Adjustment when they affirmed the ESCs.
The decision.
So that should be pretty straightforward. And then that will be put on a briefing schedule. I anticipate the applicants will intervene because right now it's just the forest folks that are opposed to the non-metallic mine and the county, but I believe the applicant, Blue Rock, will intervene in that matter. So
Okay.
So we should probably have another litigation update on the 7th, I'm sure,
So,
and
yeah, keep
ongoing.
that on there.
And ongoing, that should just be a standing item for
Be a standing item.
this committee. Yeah.
The administrator, I see there's some land for sale, Polk County,
Yes.
in the paper. Did that go through the planning committee?
What's that?
Did it go through the planning committee?
It went through,
General government,
general government as it wasn't tax deed property.
It
that
a
was
what?
property that was left to the county by way of,
Is that the Deer Park
will.
stuff?
Will.
The Deer Park stuff or a different one?
I can't remember where the property
There's
was
a right of way.
located.
There's also a small right of way that went up for the, that's non-buildable. It's basically right of way that the adjoining landowner was interested in.
That is, oh, okay.
It's on 285th, I believe,
In McKinley.
going up to Mackey Lake.
Sure.
There's the 33 feet of right of way owned. That's town right of way that the county owns.
Oh, good.
So, and I have your file with a new list for you,
With a new list?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
updated.
A lot of numbers in there. Okay. So this gets added after the meeting, or after the full board meeting?
Yeah.
The 40, okay. All right. Anybody else?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Got adjourned.
All right.
Good piece.
There you go.
I was so nervous.